Hi, good afternoon. I'm Carla, the Cosmic Crone, and I came here to speak to you for a few minutes about selfish. It's up right now. We are coming through the closure of the new moon window, and if you see down below, you'll notice the Divine Feminine Astrology reading for the new moon, where I talked about the story of Psyche and Venus as a part of this new moon energy. And that has stirred up so much inside of me, along with some other, and it's throughout the culture, because every time I turn on my television, my Netflix and such, or listen to what, I'm not the only one talking about it, in other words. In fact, I'm learning so much about the power of selfishness and the necessity of selfishness. And I use that word because it's a triggering word. One of the things women don't want to be or be seen as is selfish. And I completely get it, because I am deeply ashamed of being selfish myself. And I learned that at home. I learned that as a little girl. I was shamed for being selfish. It was like the unforgivable sin of a female was to be selfish. And I don't recall any of my brothers or any of the males in my world being considered selfish or being told there was something wrong with them for being selfish. It wasn't even a concept for men, but it was an essential value, quality of women, that we would be unselfish. So let's unpack that a little bit. Okay, let me get to the heart of it. One of the things, I posted it earlier today here and in my group, and I've shared it in some other groups. It hit me to give women an opportunity to explore, what does selfish mean to you? How are you being selfish? Where do you need to be selfish? Where are you going to promise yourself to become selfish? And so the journal prompt is, make a list of 25 things, 25 ways that I am divinely selfish. And this morning I did it myself. I wrote out 25 ways, and honestly, I find doing things by hundreds is powerful. But even 25 was starting to blow the doors off of my understanding of what selfishness means, why it matters. It's incredible. I'll just tell you what was coming up for me. First off, this is always the argument that comes up when selfishness is the topic. But mothers have to be unselfish. Mothers have to be willing to sacrifice for their children. I mean, what mother among us would not give the child bread and water and do without yourself? There is something about us. We will give that way. And it's true that when we are raising children, and I did, for 20 years, I raised 2 sons. And I put my own desires on the back burner. And it helped that I didn't really know what my desires were. I was perfectly happy to connect with my children and be full of self-judgment if I was unhappy or felt, the moments when I felt unfulfilled and like, but what about me? I would have these feelings of life being out of balance, and yet, first of all, I was on purpose. I was doing what I knew to do. It was my comfort zone to be able to give at that level, and children are incredibly rewarding. So I did. I gave up every particle of who I knew I was because I didn't trust that in my own value as a woman, a human being, an artist, a smart girl, someone who had intellectual power, who had something, a message and a mission to share with the world. It was interesting that I had longings, but they were definitely underworld longings. They did not see the light of day, and I worked to actively suppress them, partly because they scared me. I didn't know what to do. And I had these children, which channeled all of my energy. And and so when I talk with young mothers who have 1, 2, 3, 5 children, however many children you have, it's like there's a lot of self-compassion. You are available for your children, and there is a degree of patience with who you are becoming and how you can live in your power and what you can get done in a day, because you have children. It's a decision you made. It's a responsibility you took on. It is your gift to the planet to mother those children the best you can, and to marshal your resources, to find allies, helpers, supporters, whether it's a sister circle, other mothers, extended family, your partner, whoever you can find in your life, because being unselfish and putting the children first, making decisions on their behalf before you make decisions on your own behalf, is normal, natural, necessary, and you don't give to sacrifice. You still have to take care of yourself. You need the breaks away from the children. You need help. This is what has happened within modern post-industrial patriarchy. The expression, it takes a village to raise a child. The village in modern times has become 90% the mother. In the nuclear family, the woman of the family, the mother, takes on the vast amount of the work that would have been shared in the village, in the clan, but with the aunties, the big sisters, the uncles, the grannies. There were circles of relation for every child, and the mother was cared for. I just read someone's post, a Facebook friend of mine who is raising her children in Kenya, and she says, the mother of a newborn in Kenya does not lift a finger for months. That doesn't happen here. We have 2 weeks of maternity leave. We go back to work. We put the child in daycare. We come home and keep a perfect house. Ask me how I know. So recognizing that where you are working in this place in your life is unnatural, and it is an artificial construct that is built on the backs of women. And I could totally go in a big, long rabbit hole there, and I'm just going to leave that because I want to come back to what it means to be selfish. I can tell a story from my personal life. After years of making decisions based on what I thought my family needed, what helped me avoid the scary, creative, magnificent desires that were bubbling under the surface for me. It was two things. What did they need, and what was I scared of? Both of those things were working in my life for the 20 years that I was raising children. And finally, the children leave home. They're grown up. They're gone. and it's my turn. The job I hate, the marriage that's not working, the sex life that has me frustrated and thinking there's something wrong with me. I went to my husband and said, something has to change. And I will confess, I was a bitch about it because it was really hard. I did not have skills for having these difficult conversations. I will confess that I probably attacked him. I certainly drove him away. He certainly did not turn around and rise to meet me and say, you're right. Let's, how can we change our lives? How can we, increase our intimacy? How can we come closer together? What do we want our life to look like now? No, it was more like, well, I'm going to retire. You go back to work. You have to go to work. You have to stay. You have to keep working while I retire. He was quite a bit older than me, so he was nearing retirement age. And I just like, no, I can't. I can't. And things happened. Ultimately, the marriage broke up. And this is what he said to me somewhere in the midst of what I call the endless divorce. He said to me, Carla, when you stopped self-sacrificing, that's when the center didn't hold. And my eyes went, boom. Are you fucking kidding me? I have to sacrifice myself so this family can exist, so that you can exist? And granted, I know he sacrificed himself too. He gave up aspects of his life to work and support the family. He did. And I just simply question the validity of that as the foundation, especially since we're talking about the children are grown, they're adults. That was the moment that my marriage really ended. I knew that I could not go back to being that self-sacrificing center that holds the family together, that is the foundation. That if I had to be buried alive in order for this family to exist, this family would not exist anymore. And I did not know what I know now, 20 years later. I did not know how to be anything. I didn't know how to do anything other than blow it up. And so I did. Or at least I take responsibility for my role in blowing it up. It had to end. It had to end because somehow I had to be reborn out of that place I had been buried. I had to literally, I felt like such a cliche, the stories of, well, mother went off to find herself. The woman, the marriage broke up, she went off to find herself. It was like, no, I don't want to be that cliche. But guess what? I was that cliche. I didn't know who I was. I had lost track. And I had to do whatever it took. And that was an act of profound selfishness. So here I am now. I'm a crone. Then I was at the beginning of midlife. I was in perimenopause. I was at the beginning of the journey where women are when they usually begin to work with me. And so I completely understand where you are at this place in your journey. And I had to learn how to be selfish. And honestly, his words haunted me. I judged myself. It touched this deep place, this deep, how I was raised to be a woman. What a woman does. What does she do? Number one, she sacrifices herself. And so I was in conflict between becoming this fully realized, sensual, orgasmic, magnificent, on-purpose, mission-driven woman, creative and amazing in every way. That's what I wanted. But all I knew how was this. And there was years of push and pull and guilt and struggle with reaching for this and landing with this sacrifice and recrimination and shame. about wanting, desires, having ambition. Is this ringing bells for you? Have you been here before? Are you here now? Women in midlife are at that place where, and these days we're the squeeze generation. Not only are we raising children, possibly younger. See, I had my children in my early 20s. Now women are having children in their early 30s, early 40s. So definitely you're going through menopause with teenagers and aging parents, all of whom are saying, or they may be saying it, but you feel how you must be taking care of them. Well, and your soul is saying, I've had enough of this. I am here for something else. I am here on purpose, on a mission. I am here to connect with my soul. And so, regardless of what responsibilities you may still be carrying, what love you are still sharing, because this is an act of love, a rewarding act of love, to be, however your life is, to give is blessed. And you are not going to give sacrificially. And so this is where being selfish matters. What resources do you need to fill yourself up? What kind of care and help and support do you need so that as you give to the world around you, whether it is your business, your career, your mission in life, your spiritual life, your family, your children, your grandchildren, your parents, your community, wherever you are called to give, maybe it's just in being a friend. Maybe you want to be available to your friends. You give from your overflow. And that means your soul, your energy, your pleasure, your nutrition, your health, your sense of inner vitality, your life force. And our biggest healer and replenisher of our energy is our sexuality. And that shows up, that permeates everything we do. It's orgasm. It is sex alone. It is sex with our partner. It is eros. It is living, knowing, and claiming our desire and saying, I want my life to be like this. I want to show up this way. I want to receive this. It means our finances, our money. It means self-determination and power. It means a society in which we are valued, a family in which we are valued, a circle of friends in which we are valued and supported. Sisterhood matters. A circle of women is incredibly replenishing, and it focuses our collective erotic energy into collective power, and it feeds us. Now that might be a mysterious statement to you. I don't have the painting out here right now, but when women come together in circle, we are sharing our erotic energy in a sacred and holy way. We come together in ritual. We focus the energy of our wombs and our hearts, and we create something so much bigger in which we can stand and be nurtured and supported and together change the world. So if you have not yet taken your journal and journaled 25 ways that you are choosing now to be divinely selfish, what do you need? What do you require? And are you willing to risk somebody saying, either whether it's the voice inside your head, the ancient voice of your long dead mother or grandmother or second grade teacher, or whether it's someone around you who's pissed off that you won't do what they want you to do and be who you want they want you to be. Listen to those voices and be willing to defy them and say, this is how I choose to be selfish. And take the sting out of that word. Take the toxicity out of taking care of yourself. And after you've done 25, write 25 more. And then you can shift them into gratitudes. Start being grateful for loving yourself that much. Blessed new moon. Let me know. I'd love to hear how this lands for you, how this works for you. It's really incredibly powerful and wonderful, and so are you. I am Carla, the Cosmic Crone, and I will see you again soon.